Hey, you beautiful twin flames. I've got a message for you before I begin today. No Barbies or Kens were harmed in the filming of this video, okay? So you can, of course, rewind this later on after we get through what we're going to get through. No Barbies or Kens were harmed in the filming of this video. And without further ado, I bring you Barbara Barbie, who is not very happy right now. As you can see, she's been telling me all about what Ken did to her earlier, and in fact, it's not what you think. It looks like something from 50 Shades of Grey, but in actual fact, Barbara Barbie is blindfolded and also tied up. I think he was gonna tie her legs up, but I came early enough to save her. We still can't find her a pair of pants, so she might be a little bit cold, although I do have the heater on. But remember, no Barbies or Kens were harmed in the filming of this video, okay? Welcome everyone back to Tarot for You 444. The gang is back, and I am here to explain a big concept to you today for twin flames. It's a really important concept, and we're using Barbara Barbie here as our scapegoat for the day. And of course she's not really that happy about it, but it's okay, because Ken and I will feed her, I don't know, Barbara Barbie snacks a little bit later on. So this here is the twine that was supposed to be used to tie up her legs, but Ken didn't quite get that far. In fact, I interrupted him and he said, "Fear not, Natasha. It's in the cause of making a good film for twin flames today." So so we might say hi to Ken afterwards, because he was really part of this production today. But what I want to talk to you about is, I don't know if you've heard of it before. I might have to write it down. I might write it down. Bear with me just for a minute. This is a really important concept that I want you to understand, and you may have heard about this before. It's called Stockholm Syndrome. Okay, now Stockholm Syndrome is pretty much the case of where a woman in Stockholm, Sweden, becomes kidnapped by her kidnapper. And today we're using Barbie as the one who gets kidnapped. But I want to give you a little bit of insight so that this will be helpful for you on your twin flame journey. Okay, so I recently watched a film on Netflix actually, and it wasn't talking about the Stockholm Syndrome exactly, but it was a take on the same kind of thing. Now in this movie, what happens is there's a backpacker from I can't even remember where she's from. She might have been from Australia. It's either Australia or the US, but anyway, she is a backpacker and she goes to Germany, and she is loving it over there. She's taking photos, she's staying in backpacker hostels, and this guy, aka Ken, has been stalking her, which is a really, really bad thing to do, because obviously you should never do that, right? You know, that's not okay. Anyway, he accidentally bumps into her in the street, and they kind of become friends because she's going to be staying in Germany for a while. And eventually, after going out on some dates, he decides that he is going to invite her back to his apartment complex. And of course she's all for it, you know, she's kind of falling for the guy. And then the worst possible thing happens is that, you know, they make love and then he literally ties her up and won't let her go. So this guy is a teacher and he goes off to work every day and leaves her pretty much laying on the bed. You know, he puts plastic underneath her and things, you know, so if she goes to the toilet, she's literally going to wet herself. It's kind of sad, really. And of course, she's terrified and struggling, and he keeps coming home, you know, at different times, and, you know, he feeds her and undoes her to let her have a shower when he gets home and all of those things. But pretty much like Barbara Barbie here, she is held captive. And obviously the guy has got, you know, something wrong with him. You know, I do not suggest, I should have made another piece of paper. I do not suggest capturing your twin flame and, you know, tying them up unless they give you permission. And today we have Barbara Barbie's, we've got her permission to do this. So what I want to explain to twin flames here is that this Stockholm syndrome, which actually really occurred, and you can look that up for yourself, it's called Stockholm syndrome, was a scenario where the kidnappee, aka Barbara Barbie, actually fell in love with, and I'm going to bring Ken in now. He's still wearing his flannel because we can't get his pants back on. Hang on, can I get him in the picture? There we go. Okay. Hi Ken, let's see if he'll turn his head. Oh yeah, there we go, we've got him. Okay. I don't know, is he looking at you? Look, maybe we'll just do that for a minute and then you can see him. So anyway, this guy literally locks her up in this apartment building in Germany, in the movie that I watched, and he comes home and he kind of treats her like his girlfriend. So, you know, he'll play music for her and he'll make love to her and he'll, you know, all against her will. You know, he'll bring her a cake sometimes, and, you know, it's kind of weird, you know, the whole scenario is really weird. So what I want to do now is, I think Ken's had enough of being on camera. His head looks a bit sore, so we'll just leave Barbara Barbie in the picture. But what happens is the kidnappee ends up kind of becoming used to this treatment. So even though he leaves her alone all day and she's lonely, you know, she kind of gets excited when he comes because he ends up being her carer. He ends up being the person that she's codependent upon. And if I just turn her head there, you can see that she's got a blindfold on. Here we go. So eventually she convinces him in the movie to, you know, please, you know, don't tie me up anymore. Let me roam free in the house and then it will kind of be better. And she, you know, I think he ends up buying her a dog and stuff like that. So she kind of feels this safety from the codependency because obviously she can't get away. You know, there's all these latches on the doors and there's no one around. You know, he's in an abandoned complex. So how does this relate to the twin flame journey? Everyone's going, you know, this is a bit weird, Nat. We're talking about some weird mental health disorder that this guy had. You know, obviously that man was very unstable. But what I want to alert you to is how the Stockholm syndrome is very similar to what happens in the beginning stages of the twin flame journey, where the divine feminine feels codependent on the masculine for her happiness. So not for one moment am I saying that your divine masculine is toxic in any kind of way. I'm just using this as a correlation because it makes sense. So what happens is that when the divine masculine treats the divine feminine poorly, let's say he doesn't communicate well, or maybe they have an argument, or I don't know, some divine masculines may be intimate with their divine feminines and then kind of leave them, or you know what I mean, just those kinds of behaviors that wouldn't be congruent with being spiritually ascended. So he treats her very badly, and then he can come in and treat her very well. So he might love bomb her, he might, you know, make promises to her, and then he might leave again. So it's kind of similar in the way we have this twin flame, you know, in and out thing happening all of the time. Okay, so the divine feminine in that stage, runner chaser stage, we could say, becomes codependent on the masculine, because she feels that her happiness is related to whether he comes in with his bathrobe on or not, right? I love how we can't get pants back on Ken. It's quite funny. So when in the movie the guy comes in, you know, Barbie gets excited because, you know, she knows she's going to get a shower. She knows she's going to get fed. She knows she's going to have her requirements met. Okay. And then when he leaves again, she's in distress. So you can just imagine in the movie, you know, he unties her when he comes home, and they're acting sort of like boyfriend and girlfriend. And in a way, she kind of falls in love with him. And then when he goes away, it's, you know, very much, I've got to tie you up, I've got to blindfold you, you know, I'll be home when I'm home kind of thing. And then she feels the fear. So what I want to do now is I want to untie Barbie as I'm still speaking with you, because of course, you know, this is hard unless we're talking BDSM and you're into that kind of thing. It's a very hard thing to even comprehend that someone would want to bind someone else up, that someone would want to hurt or harm someone else. That can just be a little necklace for now, because I don't know how we're going to get that off, Barbie. Sorry, but you look a bit happier now. And we'll put your ponytail out. There we go. So she's got some nice beads on now. Okay, and let's see if her head turns right around. Wow, it does. Okay. That's kind of cool, isn't it? Barbie. There we go. She's looking pretty comfortable. Now, I don't know. Maybe we can just sit Ken in here for a minute. Seems he's wearing his towel. He can just sit up here and listen. So what happens on the twin flame journey is the divine feminine, without even realizing it, becomes codependent on the masculine. And it's so much affects her to the point where she actually is in distress. She can be in distress when her counterpart doesn't come in. And many of you, you know, watch twin flame videos and, you know, and or readings because you kind of want to know, how do I get my masculine to come in? Because in some kind of way, you know, you feel as though something is missing in your life. And for many of you, that is love. So this Stockholm syndrome is really a great metaphor for the twin flame journey. Because, you know, some of the divine masculines have behaviors, you know, they're not psychopaths, but some of them have behaviors which are incongruent with having a normal relationship. And so the feminine is really affected by this coming and going and coming and going and coming and going of the masculine. So when he leaves, you know, they come together perhaps and they have a great time, or an okay time. You know, she feels safe, you know, she feels nurtured. She's, I don't know, you know, when we're talking about the Stockholm syndrome, you know, she's getting food, she's getting shelter, she's getting perhaps even intimacy. And then when he leaves, she feels very afraid and alone and scared and abandoned would be the word that I'd like to use here. So if any of those feelings are coming up for you when your divine masculine leaves, this is kind of why I'm making my course for twins who are in separation. And it's called my Game Changer, which will cover abandonment, PTSD, anxiety, depression, dark night of the soul, confusion, the balancing out, including daily practices, and mission work. So for any of you who are really struggling, you can purchase my course. Just get in touch with me via the email description. But I really wanted to bring this video to you today to see how the codependency, which is so talked about within the Stockholm syndrome, is very similar to what happens on the twin flame journey. The divine feminine really needs to get to a point where she feels safe in her own skin. She feels safe on her own. She feels nurtured and loved without the masculine. He also needs to come to a place where he feels nurtured in his own skin, where he feels not codependent. Okay? Because the needing and the yearning and the wanting love from the divine masculine, of course it's an intrinsic human need to want affection and love. But when it comes in the desperation form of, needing and wanting and desperately, where is my divine masculine? That kind of energy is actually a chasing energy. And as we know in the twin flame journey, if you chase something, it runs away. I also find it interesting when we're talking about this Stockholm syndrome is that when the man leaves, in the Netflix movie, and because it's an international movie, I can't really remember what it's called, unfortunately, but when he leaves, she yearns for him more. She feels unsafe. She feels unstable. And it kind of feels as though the longer she's in that energy, the longer he stays away. And then as she calms herself down, that's when he comes home. And then she's got relief. Okay. So, of course, not for one moment am I saying that the Stockholm syndrome is okay. Not for one moment am I ever saying that, kidnapping someone or any of those kind of energies are okay. That's not what I'm saying. But I want you to understand this concept because it's very codependent. And trauma bonding can occur from being treated poorly and then being treated well. It's also a narcissistic trait for someone to treat you really, really beautifully and then leave and not come back or not tell you when they're coming back. Okay, so I guess I could talk a little bit about trauma bonding now so that you understand. Trauma bonding is what occurs, during the Stockholm syndrome, where the kidnappee, although she's being treated poorly, she's also being love bombed. On one hand she's being treated poorly and being neglected, and then she's being treated, like maybe he comes in and love bombs her and says, "Oh, I missed you so much today, and what a sweetie you are, you sat so still for me the whole time I was gone." This can happen in the twin flame journey, and when the distorted masculine or the divine masculine is still unawakened to some degree, he can actually treat the divine feminine very poorly. This also coincides with an experiment they did in the USA where they made people walk down the same street, and they literally I think they put money in letterboxes so that, the challenge was walk down the same street, open up the letterboxes, and see if there's anything in there for you. So sometimes they'd walk down the street and they'd find, you know, $100 bill, or, you know, $100 in cash. And then other days there'd be nothing. And I don't know, they did it for a few weeks or something as a little experiment. And, you know, they were, you know, scientifically, they were studying the effects on the brain. And it's kind of like this addiction, you know, when is the $100 coming? When is the $100 coming? So they might have, you know, 5 days of walking down the street with no money, and then 1 day of finding $100. And each day they keep walking down the street, there's this feeling of maybe it's coming, maybe it's coming, maybe it's coming. And this is similar to what happens in trauma bonding. If the divine masculine treats the divine feminine very poorly, and then comes in and treats her kindly, this is a very narcissistic thing, which causes trauma bonding. And it can actually be like a drug. So many divine feminines become addicted to false twin flames in this way, who are actually very narcissistic. False twin flames can be psychopaths, can be very scary, but it can also happen, and the divine masculine may not intentionally be doing it. He might have, you know, gone through the bubble love phase, treated her beautifully, treated her kindly, treated her with all of this love, and then all of a sudden, you know, gone into separation from fear or something like that, and then sort of ignored her in some kind of way. So it can kind of happen like that. And this trauma bonding can occur where, you know, in the brain, she keeps hoping that, you know, maybe if she checks his social media, or, you know, maybe if she checks her messages, there'll be another message there, and it'll be, you know, just like the one he used to send where he said, you know, I love you, I want to marry you, I think you're beautiful, let's make love, etc., etc. Okay, so it's kind of a serious video and kind of a fun video, because Barbara Barbie was so lovely letting us tie her up like that. And of course, Ken's thinking about what he might want to do with Barbara Barbie later on, because of course, Ken and Barbie are definitely twin flames. And although they argue sometimes, look at them together. Don't they look amazing? Barbara Barbie's looking very proud right now, and so is Ken. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to put it in the twin flame concepts list, so you can come back and you know, listen to it later. But you can also look up the Stockholm syndrome, and you can also look up the words trauma bonding, and trauma bonding, you know, is a definite, you know, it's definitely a thing that narcissists do. So you may have had trauma bonding in the past with a bad ex or something as well. But the divine masculine isn't necessarily trying to treat you badly. He's running, you know, he can be running away from the connection because of fear, or because he's, you know, too busy with a karmic, etc. There's all these blocks. But it can cause trauma bonding in the divine feminine. And that's why I'm making my Game Changer course, which is going to focus on some of these issues, because, you know, divine feminine can feel very lost without the masculine, very lost, and it can affect her physiologically as well as emotionally. Okay, so I'm sending you a beautiful day, night, afternoon, evening, or morning, wherever you are in the world. Remember, no Barbies or Kens were harmed in the making of this video. I really hope you understand the concept. If you've got any questions that are quite lengthy, or you know, are a bit hard to answer in the comments section, maybe just, you know, send an email to me, and I'll try and answer as best I can. And also let me know where you're from in the comments if you want to. Let me know what country you're from. You know, what it's like there, where you are now, you know, are the lockdowns over, etc. You know, is everything going good for you? Are you having a good day? You know, just say hi. It's lovely to see some new people coming to the channel. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment. And I hope you have a beautiful day, night, afternoon, evening, or morning, wherever you are in the world. Mwah! I'm sending you love and blessings from Australia. And if you haven't got yourself a Ken or a Barbie yet, they're available on eBay. That's where I got Barbara Barbie and my Ken from. I guess we could call him King Ken because he's got a crown. I was going to say a crown. He's got a crown on his head, a crown on his head. You know what I mean. Alrighty, I love you so much. Have a beautiful day. Bye everyone. Bye.